You know, it looks like we're on a rooftop, or maybe we're not. Let's find out. Stephen, give us the dirt on growing food on rooftops in the city of Toronto, but also internationally, because you're the expert.
Well, the green roof industry has been growing at an incredible rate across North America. Last year we had 150% growth rate, which was just tremendous, and we're expecting a major growth in the industry again this year. And one of the areas that's really starting to emerge as an important one is growing food on top of rooftops. And that has a wide range of different technologies that are in use. In some cases, people are using greenhouse technology and growing food hydroponically. In other cases, people are laying out growing media and compost and growing like a traditional farm would on tops of roofs. And we're seeing that in places like New York. In Toronto, we've just taken a few baby steps in terms of growing food on roofs, and we're looking forward, as a result of this Urban Ag Conference, to seeing many more projects take place, like the ones we're seeing starting to take place here at Ryerson University, where we're holding the conference. The reasons that we want to grow food on a roof, or in a city for that matter, are many. There's an opportunity for jobs for young people, underemployed people. There's an opportunity for jobs for socially disadvantaged people. So we can grow food as a supplement for people's nutritional needs, especially in areas of the city where there's a real social need, but what are called food deserts. You know, there's not enough fresh vegetables around. And then there are opportunities for more commercial scale production of food in and around buildings and in community gardens that are run more, or urban farms run more commercially, so we can supply restaurants with food. And when we do that kind of stuff, we don't have to bring the food in from long distances, which cuts down the transportation related carbon emissions. We can have a greater degree of control over the quality of the food in terms of organic. We actually have certified organic farms that are rooftop farms. And we have some of the first certified organic farms, rooftop farms, are in Chicago. We can control the inputs, we can circulate water and use water, we can capture storm water in cities and use it for irrigation purposes. And when you green up a city, when you bring vegetation into a city for urban farming, you reduce the urban heat island effect of the city, the overheating of the city, which results in more comfortable places for people to live in and less air pollution. It reduces the amount of energy consumed for air conditioning units. So, you know, when we cool the city off with vegetation, we actually, there's an economic benefit, an infrastructural benefit. And so that's one of the really cool things about urban ag, is that it's like an infrastructure. It's a form of infrastructure for cities that's not well recognized by traditional infrastructure policymakers, planners, and developers. And yet, food is really essential for us, right? Just as essential as electricity and water and shelter, food is tremendously important. And so we're here at the Urban Ag Summit celebrating the progress that's been made in countries around the world, the United States and Canada, and also looking to really advance investment and policies and projects that support urban agriculture in roofs, walls, and community gardens like this around North America.
Well, let's talk about the summit, Stephen. What are some of the interesting questions or learning experiences people are having here? Again, it's the first of its kind.
One of the really amazing things for me at the summit is to see the breadth of activity taking place. You know, you've got balcony, container gardening, there's a whole movement associated with that. You have commercial scale, you have social enterprise. You've got this amazing range of activities, both in terms of the governance and also the projects that are taking place in terms of urban ag. And the most exciting stuff from my perspective is when you look at urban ag projects in the city, and then you do things like use renewable energy for electricity, or you use solar hot water to do aquaponics and grow fish, and where you have these systems where the waste of one aspect becomes the nutrients and the inputs of another. So these integrated systems that combine water and energy and nutrient flows with food production and social well-being and social justice and young people and training and opportunities. There's so much stuff you can wrap around urban agricultural projects that they're extremely exciting, and I think that is going to be a big part of the future.
It's like a whole world in itself.
Yeah, it's like in some of these cases you even can have little mini ecosystems taking place, you know, where they're actually generating methane. You produce methane from composting. The methane is burned to produce electricity. The methane also, when you burn it, creates CO2, but to put the CO2 back in the greenhouse increases the yield in terms of growing food. So we have all these really positive synergies that we've only really just begun to explore, the engineering and all the technologies involved in that.
Well, people that are new to explore this technology technology. How are they finding, or the challenges in embracing it? Obviously, they're not going as quick as you may like to see it, but what are some of the challenges or stories in this area?
Well, one of the challenges you have whenever you're developing something new, there's a number of challenges. One of the financing is one of the challenges, and we heard from Paul Lightfoot, for example, and one of the ways he's trying to do rooftop greenhouses is get supermarkets to sign contracts, long-term contracts to buy vegetables, and then he uses those contracts to finance the development of the greenhouse. In other cases, we're seeing a lot of social benefits. You know, if you can go into underprivileged communities and you can engage children in the process of agriculture and youth, you know, there's a whole bunch of social benefits and resulting economic benefits that come from keeping people out of jails and out of the legal system and giving them opportunities for employment and opportunities to connect with the earth and connect with the food that they eat every day. And there's a whole bunch of health benefits, right, that are associated with the local food movement, urban agriculture. A lot of the food that we get when it's imported from long distances doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it. And yet food that's grown locally, you know, you can consume it on the same day. And that means that we can there's exercise involved, but we can have lower rates of diabetes and more healthy and nutritious food. So all these things tie in. There's all these different ways of overcoming some of these financial issues if you get creative, and that's what we're seeing at this conference, a lot of creativity.
Let me ask you this, Stephen. Do you have a really good, interesting story internationally regarding this?
One of the more interesting things I've seen internationally is China. I'm going to China in October. And there's a rooftop agriculture movement in China. And the Chinese authorities are really encouraging people to look at growing food in Chinese cities in part. They're doing a lot of that already, but not necessarily on rooftops. And one of the reasons for that is that in China, there's been such a massive urban expansion and there's been such a massive expansion of industrial buildings over the last 20 years that they're losing their capacity to feed themselves as a country. And so the opportunity to bring food into cities, in and around buildings in China, I think is going to be really important for the world, and I'm really excited to be going there and looking at those developments. Final
question, I've got a lot more, but we're running out of time and you've got a busy schedule here at the summit. If someone were to start growing food on the roof, what's your best advice you can give them in simple form?
Well, you really need to go through a structural engineering evaluation. Roofs are really important because they hold snow in Toronto and in many climates. They have to divert there's waterproofing issues. So I wouldn't recommend that someone goes about doing that unless they work with a green roof professional. Green Roofs Throughout the Cities, the association that I run that's working to develop the green roof and wall industry, has a certified green roof professional designation, and we have those people on our website. You can find them, and that's the good place to start.
Okay. Let's talk about your website for more information.
Yeah, so for more information you can go to www.greenroofs.org, and for more information about how we're trying to encourage the provincial government to invest in green infrastructure like urban forests and community gardens and green roofs, you can go to www.greeninfrastructureontario.org and learn about the work that we're doing in the coalition to have more investment in living green infrastructure in our cities.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.